Hey, so if you don't know me, I started a cleaning business that did over $65,000 a month. After that, started a cleaning business for my business partner's mom that now does over $10,000 a month in profit. So when I say that these 5 metrics are super important to running a cleaning business, I mean it. When we didn't track these, they were not measured and they were not managed. But when we started tracking these metrics, it changed the game for us. Now I know you're taking your valuable time to watch this video right now, but if you could put a price tag on what your time is worth, I promise this video will give you at least a 10x ROI on your cleaning business. So let's get into it. Now the first 2 metrics I want to talk about are CAC and LTV. Now the reason I put these 2 together is because they go hand in hand. CAC basically means customer acquisition cost, and that is how much money does it cost you to acquire a customer. LTV is customer lifetime value. So this is basically how much will one customer pay you over the lifetime of them using your services and working with you. Now the reason that these 2 go hand in hand is because if you could acquire customers for as cheap as possible and have them be worth as much as possible, that is a lot of profit that you're going to be able to take home. So the game in cleaning is basically, could I acquire a customer for, let's say, $50 and have them pay me $1,000 over the course of a year or over the course of 6 months of them recurringly using your services? That's what makes the cleaning industry and the cleaning business so valuable, because you can have one customer that pays you over and over and over again. Now, the problem that I see is people have a CAC that is way too high because maybe they're using Google local service ads, right? And we know that the rising ad costs make it difficult to be profitable, because if you're paying $50 for a lead and you close 1 out of every 2, that means it's $100 to acquire that customer. Now, if you're not good at converting these people to recurring services and they only paid you $300, now that ratio is 100 to 300, as opposed to someone else that could possibly get a $50 customer acquisition cost and have them worth over $1,000. What's the ratio from 50 to 1,000? It's a lot bigger than 3. So that is the first key metric that you need to be tracking. How do you track it? It's very simple. For customer acquisition cost, you just have to look at how much money am I spending on marketing and divide that by the number of customers you are acquiring through spending the marketing costs. To make numbers easy, say you spend $1,000 this month on marketing and you got 10 customers. That means each customer was acquired for $100. Now, customer LTV is going to be a little more tricky to calculate, and especially if you're a newer business. But what you can do is you can try to estimate on average how much are customers paying you for the recurring services and how long are they staying. Now, like I said, if you're a newer business, you probably don't have that data, but you can kind of estimate, and the goal is, without even looking at the data, how can I get people to stay with me the longest? How can I acquire them for as cheap as possible? Now, another 2 metrics that you need to be tracking if you want to make sure that your company is consistently growing is 1, how many of one-time customers are you converting to recurring services? The second one is your churn rate. So these 2 also go hand in hand, right? What we're seeing in the cleaning industry that is standard is 20 to 25% of your one-time customers should be converting to recurring services. Now, this 20 to 25 number is taken into account. They're gonna have one-time customers because maybe they're move-in, move-outs. But if you're able to convert 1 out of every 4 or 5 customers to recurring services, whether that's bi-weekly, weekly, or monthly, then you are on track to have a great business. But the flip side is your churn rate, because what's the point of having all these people convert to recurring if you can't keep them for a long time? And that's a metric that I see people not tracking, because they see people canceling, but they don't track what is my actual churn rate every month. And if it's too high and it's outpacing the amount of recurring customers that are coming in every month, now you're gonna have a declining recurring business. When in actuality, in cleaning, we need to have a business where 1 month we have 3K in recurring, and the next month we have 4K, and the next month after that we have 5,000. And you can see how this starts to compound and snowball, and the next thing you know, you have over $100,000 a year or even $500,000 a year in recurring services. And that's gonna make your business more profitable, and it's gonna be worth more in enterprise value so that you could sell the business one day. Now, the way you're gonna track this is for your one-time to recurring percentage. That one's pretty simple. So if you get 10 customers this month, how many of them converted to recurring. If it's 2 out of 10, now it's 20% because 2 divided by 10 is 20%. Now on churn rate, basically you're gonna look at how many recurring customers do I have this month plus the amount of recurring customers were added. So say you had 10 to start with, you added 2, so now you have 12 recurring customers and you had 1 person cancel. Now if you do 1 divided by 12, you get 8.3%. Now the goal is to have a churn rate that's around 5% or lower. So if you do see that you have an 8% churn rate or higher, you really need to look at your operations and you need to look at your cleaners, and you have to see, why are people canceling? And a lot of the reason, it's because of a quality issue. Really, at the end of the day, your cleaner is your product. That is what the customer is experiencing. So if you have too many people churning and canceling your services, make sure to look at the cleaners and see what they're doing, how they're doing it, and see what could you change in the customer experience that's gonna allow people to stay with you for longer. Now over time, you should have a way to track all these metrics and make sure that they're all in line. But like I said, don't be overwhelmed. Just figure out which are the 1 or 2 that are gonna make the biggest difference in your business and apply those today. Now the third most important metric that you need to be tracking in your cleaning business is your gross margin. You have to know, where is the money coming in and where is it going out to? So one of the biggest expenses in a cleaning business is your labor. Especially if you're out of the field and you're paying cleaners to do the jobs, you're gonna pay somewhere around 40 to maybe even 60 or 70% of your total revenue to your cleaners. Now, after you pay your cleaners, that gives you your gross margin. The problem that I see with way too many cleaning businesses is that they pay their cleaners too much. And it's not that we want to pay our cleaners dirt cheap, but we want to have a business that you can pay the cleaners and still have 50% of gross margin to pay for marketing, to pay for all the software and the insurance, and still have a 20 to 30% net profit to go in your pocket at the end of the day. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to be charging the right prices, because if you're charging dirt cheap prices, that's why it feels like you're having to pay your cleaners so much of the total revenue, because after paying your cleaners, you're not left with enough to pay for everything else. So first thing you have to look at is, are your prices high enough? The second thing is, what are you paying your cleaners and how are you paying them? So specifically with the remote cleaning model, you're paying contractors and it's a flat rate percentage. Now, you want to have that percentage in between 40 and 50% of the total job. So if you're doing a job for $500, you should be paying your cleaner anywhere from $200 to $250. Now, if you priced your jobs properly, that should come out to around $60 per hour per cleaner, so that your cleaner can still be making $30 per hour. That is a sweet spot that you want to be aiming for, because if you're pricing your jobs too small, or for whatever reason you're paying your cleaners $20 an hour or less, you're just not gonna get quality cleaners and they're not gonna be happy working with you or for you. Now, the fourth most important metric to be tracking in your cleaning business is going to be your marketing percentage of your total revenue, because this is gonna show you how effective is your marketing. After your cleaner pay, your marketing is probably gonna be your biggest expense. So it's important to know how much of the total revenue is going towards that. So I've seen some people as high as 30 to 40% of their total revenue is going towards marketing spend. Where I see this happening is they get too reliant on an ad channel that is very expensive. Example is Google local service ads. We know that at this point in time in 2024, that Google LSA is pretty expensive. You can pay as much as $50 for one person to call you inquiring about your business, not even booking your business, which means that this ad spend can get pretty freaking expensive, especially if you don't have a great close rate, but that's a separate metric. So if you're spending too much on marketing, now you're not gonna have any profit left at the end of the day. So where should your marketing spend be at? It should be somewhere around 10 to 20%, but I'm telling you, 20% is on the high end. It's very aggressive. That means you're trying to scale your company and you're saying, I'm okay with a little bit less profit because I'm spending money to get recurring customers. But if you're spending more than 20% on your marketing, you have to evaluate, one, where am I spending my marketing dollars? Two, what is my close rate on the people that are coming in? So if I have 10 people call me and only 2 people actually book a job, your close rate's 20%. And that is way too low. So that is another thing you have to evaluate. And the third thing is, are you doing enough organic marketing? So besides the Google local service ads or the Facebook ads or the Yelp ads, you need to be doing something on top of that. Something where you're gonna be able to get more word of mouth, more referrals, and more customers that are finding you via Nextdoor or Facebook groups or just anything that is organic and free, because this is gonna offset the cost of you doing all the paid marketing to get all these other customers in. Now, the last key metric that you need to be tracking, something that is so important to your business, is close rate. I kind of touched on it on the other metric before, but this is essentially what is a percentage of people that call your business inquiring for your services and how many of them are actually using your services. So for example, if 10 people call you this month or this week, 5 of them should be closing. 50% is a good place to be in. If you're a cleaning business, that means your prices are high enough, because let me tell you something. If you have 100% of the people telling you yes, I promise you your prices are way too low. We do not want that. There's always gonna be a few tire kickers. There's always gonna be a few penny pinchers that want your services for super cheap, and that is just not your customer. You want someone that's gonna pay you a decent rate so that you can pay your cleaners well and you can give them a quality service. So 50% is a number that we see that you can still run a very profitable and healthy business and still have a good value proposition for customers that are coming in, asking for your services. Now, the biggest mistake that I see with people that have a low close rate is, one, they're not following up enough because they feel like they're bugging the customer, but in reality, you are just trying to help. Because if a customer calls you and they say, I don't know, your price is a little bit high, they're gonna go and call around, right? What's gonna happen when they go around and they find someone that's way cheaper than you? They're probably gonna use them, but then they're gonna be unhappy with the service because, let's be honest, there's a lot of bad cleaners out there that are very cheap. So then, what are you doing by following up? You're just trying to see how was their experience and how you could help them in the future, because maybe they didn't like the service and they're willing to try you out because now they've seen that the grass isn't greener on the other side and you should be the company that they try out next. But people don't follow up enough because they feel like they're bugging people. I'm telling you from experience, I felt that way before, but I had to learn the hard way that if you're not following up with people, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. The second thing that hurts people's close rate the most is they make a conversation way too transactional. If someone calls your business and you just ask the basic questions about, how big is your house, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, and then you give them a price, they are just making a decision on the price, nothing else. What you have to do as a good salesperson almost seems like common sense, but a lot of people don't do it when it comes to sales. You have to be likable, you have to be friendly, and you have to show them that you are there to help them in their situation. Whatever it is, maybe they're getting their house cleaned for a party, maybe they're tired of cleaning their house. You have to make it feel like this is the solution that they needed. And you're gonna do whatever it takes to make their house feel super clean and have them avoid any problems that they had in the past. A lot of people call you because they didn't like a cleaner in the past, so they're looking for a new one. So you should be asking those types of questions. What didn't you like about the last cleaner? Maybe they missed spots that were super important to the customer. Maybe they were always late. It's your job to ease the customer and make them feel like this is gonna be a totally different experience, and that's why it's worth it to pay the extra $100 for your service, because it's quality and because you're gonna have the best customer experience possible. So like I said earlier in the video, guys, this is a ton of different metrics that I told you should be tracking in order to maximize your profitability and have the best cleaning business possible. But it can be overwhelming if you try to implement all these all at once. So if you could just take 1 or 2 key metrics that you could apply in your business today, start tracking, and then start trying to improve on them, I promise your business will be making more money. There was a point in my life where I had a cleaning business that I wasn't tracking any of these things. I didn't have a good close rate. I wasn't following up with people. I wasn't extending my customer LTV, and I was paying way too much to acquire customers. But I was able to turn it around by just tracking certain metrics, measuring them and improving on them, and then getting the business to do over $65,000 a month, or getting my business partner's mom to be able to make $10,000 a month in profit because we were simply tracking the right metrics and improving on them every single month. That being said, if you have any questions, put them down in the comments down below. If you want our help to start and scale your cleaning business, make sure to hit the link in the bio, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.